All right, folks, welcome back. My apologies for that error. I just realized that I was streaming to my personal page and not the CMR profile page, which obviously is where we would want this break-in information to actually go. So we've just been monitoring some news that has come in to us, quite shocking, but at the same time, not really when you think about it that there's some sort of political coup that's underway. So we wanted to briefly discuss this, bring it to you in real time, and see what you guys think about this latest development. So here's what we know is you guys will remember, I think it was on Monday, perhaps, that I made mention of a report and a petition that we had received a copy of. It might have even been on Friday. I can't quite recall, folks, but we made mention of this, that there was a petition in circulation online that had been started by, I think it was a Patricia Powery, where essentially she was indicating that she wanted to have a vote of no confidence. She was encouraging members of the LA to conduct a vote of no confidence. And it didn't specify against whom this vote of no confidence was supposed to be against. So I think that was some confusion on my part. I'm thinking a vote of no confidence against who? And of course, it was in relation to the domestic partnership bill, which again, shockingly, it appears that is the only significant issue that this country is ever faced with in terms of people wanting to protest. So now we've received some sort of clarification on this, and we understand that, in fact, the members of the Legislative Assembly are making some strategic moves. The opposition members, along with some of the coalition members, are actually making some sort of strategic plans to pull the current coalition government apart. So let's just revisit exactly what this means, folks. We have a situation here where this government was formed for political expediency, as is normally the case. And, when it's formed for that particular reason and not a common vision or a common political position, you can expect anything to happen, folks. It becomes politics as usual. And so nothing should surprise us. I think for most of us, the only thing, in fact, that has surprised us is that the government has been able to keep it together for this long, to be quite frank, because you've got personalities that are involved in this, and they're all about self-promotion and self-gain. And naturally, this would have been one of the reasons why the current government did not speak out against McKeever Bush during his assault matter. And they've yet to speak out because they knew that had they done so, they were taking a chance of this government falling apart. Now, what would be the irony of this entire situation if now that it's expedient to get rid of Alden because they feel like he has put them in a position where the government, the governor, my apologies, is actually going to push through this domestic partnership bill. They're going to tear the entire government apart for that. Listen, let's be really honest here. The opposition has been just sitting back waiting for this opportunity to take a go at the premier and his current government. So if this is true, if this rumor is true, and there seems to be some merit to this, the irony of it would be that Alden would actually understand that when you get in bed with the devil, and I don't know who's the devil, whether it's him or McKeever Bush or whomever, because they're all in this together for their own personal gain, right? So let's assume that they're all devils for the purposes of this discussion. When you get in bed with another devil, well, when they screw you, are you going to be absolutely shocked and surprised? Of course not. So he may have been in a position where he was keeping his lips zipped, and he instructed the rest of his political party to do so, with the understanding that should they say nothing about McKeever's legal woes, they would keep him happy. Now, the rumor on the street is, and you guys know, it's probably not far from the truth, the rumor on the street is that the opposition leader is now working with Mr. Bush, and that would mean that him and Captain Eugene would potentially be moving over to form a new government and that there are discussions underway. Now, my usual sources I'm able to contact on either side of the bench, whether it's the backbenchers, the government, or whomever, have been very, very silent today, and we can't reach any of them. So, is it possible that they're actually in negotiations as we speak to try to pull this off? This wouldn't be the first time that politicians have pulled off a coup. You guys will remember that back in was it around 2001, 2002, or thereabouts, maybe even 2003, that a similar situation happened with what's his name, Kurt Tibbetts. And they removed Kurt Tibbetts from the Legislative Assembly. That one, again, was led by McKeeva Bush at the time, who was leader of the opposition. And he claimed that Kurt Tibbetts was inept. Could it now be possible that this so-called unity government is about to fall apart over the domestic partnership bill? So, folks, if you're just joining the stream, shout out to those of you, Leonard, Janet, Rhonda, Leonie, Judy Faye, Amanda. Everyone is joining in the stream because this would be quite a shocking development. And the end result, and this is where I am wondering what would be the point, really. As you guys know, I'm no fan of Alden McLaughlin's. Politically, I'm sure he's a nice enough person, but politically, I'm not a fan. But at the end of the day, I give Alden his due where he deserves it. Okay. So I think by and large, they've handled this COVID situation quite well. And so my question would be, what would be the purpose of this coup right now? You're going to upset the entire government, get new ministers in there. We are less than 12 months away from an election, and you get new ministers in there who are going to do what? What sort of continuity does this even allow if this has actually happened? So it is understood that Arden McLean, who is the official leader of the opposition, has been working behind the scenes in order to secure the support of Mr. McKeeva Bush from Boddentown West, Captain Eugene Ebanks, because Captain Eugene does whatever McKeeva tells him to do, folks. So if McKeeva says jump ship, Captain Eugene is in tow and he's right behind him. And that would be what they would need to potentially form a new opposition. So if this is the case, and again, this is rumored at this particular time, but we do know that there's a petition in circulation that is allegedly, that petition we know exists, that is asking the opposition members to do something about it. So if this rumor has any merit, I want to try to understand what would be the point of a coup at this particular stage. It's not going to stop the domestic partnership bill. So for those of you who bought into this hate of the LGBT community so much that you would want to disrupt the government with less than May is the next election. We're in August. So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 9 months to go of a general election. I think you're being foolish. And again, I'm not here saying this because I support the opposition versus the government or vice versa. I don't really care. I think the vast majority of them, to be honest, need to get the hell out of the Legislative Assembly, if you want my honest opinion. We need to elect some people who are really going to represent all of the Cayman Islands. But what would be the point of a coup on this basis in terms of the domestic partnership bill? Despite what the petition said, you cannot have a referendum. You cannot call a referendum on the Bill of Rights. So anyone who is entertaining this discussion about a political coup is playing into your hands if you're one of those people who, because of your Christian beliefs, feel like you need to stop the domestic partnership bill at all costs, or that you need to continue to fight against the LGBT community who only want equal rights and they just want to be left the hell alone. If you're one of those people who actually believe that you can call a referendum on a Bill of Rights matter, you need to please educate yourselves, because that cannot happen. The entire purpose of the Bill of Rights is to afford minorities in particular protections under the law. And so I think that people have been misled from day one on this domestic partnership bill. And you've been misled largely, not because those persons have the same political or personal beliefs as you do or same religious beliefs. It's because they will say that to you for political expediency to get your vote. And so, will they disrupt the government in order to prove a point and to get in power when they know that there will be no possibility of a referendum on this issue? Absolutely, they will. Because who doesn't want to become premier? Who doesn't want to kick Alden in the rear and put him out? But I'm telling you, this is probably not going to be a very good idea at all. I would not be surprised if this happens. Now, it's also rumored that Mr. Bush has ended his leave of absence, which we were all confused about that leave of absence anyway. What was the point of that? So, if he has ended his leave of absence very suddenly, that is another reason what has given this rumor some life. Because why would he, on this leave of absence, all of a sudden, right now, in the middle of this discussion, decide to end his leave of absence and he's coming back? What's the purpose of it? We know that there has been no significant, we're pretty sure, there's been no significant changes in terms of Mr. Bush getting the professional help that he claimed that he wanted to get with this leave of absence. It's doubtful that that has happened. What is more likely happening here is they are now in negotiations, folks, behind the backs of the people about trying to have this coup and trying to call a vote of no confidence against the premier. And if you don't think that this type of disruption will have some serious consequences, I think that you need to really consider the implications of it. However, here's the irony of it. The premier allowed Mr. Bush, and this is where, let's go back in time, folks. Let's remember how all of this happened. The premier allowed Mr. Bush to take this undefined leave of absence instead of standing up as a man of this country and doing the right thing and saying, nope, we've got to remove you as Speaker of the House. Nobody can remove him from his seat that he was elected to, but remove him from Speaker of the House. And he did that for political expediency. So it would be ironic and a moment to reflect on how when you sell your soul to the devil and you compromise on certain things, you should not be surprised when those certain things come back to bite you in the ass, right? So, number one, you got in bed with characters that you yourself claimed in the past that you would never work with. The opposition isn't any better because the reason why they did not take control of the government back in 2017 during their negotiations is they refused on a matter of principle. These are supposed to be principled men. And look at how they're flip-flopping all over the place. They're so principled. But on a matter of principle, they claimed at the time that they could not work with Mr. Bush because, here's a man, a representative of the people who they claim had been, and mixed up in all sorts of things over the years. And so they felt like anytime he was in a position of power, something was always going to go wrong. And he wanted a ministry, he wanted all of these things. And they could not broker a deal with him because they were members of the opposition who were very, very staunch against bringing Mr. Bush back as a minister, bringing him back in a position of power. So they lost out on that opportunity. And by them losing out on that opportunity, folks, they created this unity government by allowing Alden to swoop in and to gain control. Now, the irony of them wanting to now jump back in bed with Mr. Bush, who they claim because in the past they couldn't work with him because they had serious concerns. Listen, people, wake up. Our politicians all need to be checked out here, right? This is really a matter of people playing politics at the expense of the people. JD is tuned in for the conversation. Thank you so much, JD. Mike is saying that it means it's close to elections time, soon trying to save these jobs. Yep, this is a bit of a hot mess. I don't agree with this. And like I said, this is really not, in my opinion, about taking sides with Alden McLaughlin. This is about taking sides on what is right. And the end result will be what? It's not going to change the FCO's mind. We will still get the domestic partnership bill. It's going to change nothing for the better. That is what the people of this country need to realize. So when you're jumping up, signing this petition about calling a vote of no confidence, now that we understand that the vote of no confidence is supposed to be against Alvin McLaughlin, because the petition never said that. So I was confused from day one about what the petition was saying. This is really quite shocking. So again, if you're just joining the live stream, there are rumors afoot, political rumors afoot, of a potential, thank you, Mary, West Bay West. There are rumors afoot of a potential coup against this unity government, with members of the unity government calling it quits and aligning themselves with the opposition. The opposition leader has claimed that it isn't true, but I'm telling you that there are some serious rumors that are hitting the ground. And normally when there's serious rumors like this, it means that people are at the very least in discussions. I'm telling you, this is how it works. Troy says our LA is a circus of clowns and puppets. God help us. I hope honest, competent candidates step up in May 2021. Troy, I could not agree with you more. And in my mind, anyone who is part of this coup needs to get the hell out of the Legislative Assembly, because they are really not thinking about what is in the best interest of these people, of the islands, of the Cayman Islands, because it will not change the end result. There can be no referendum. And if they're telling you something different, folks, they are lying to you, okay? Just to make you think that they will do the most to prevent this domestic partnership bill. The truth of the matter is, if in the Legislative Assembly the other day when they voted against it, if that was a secret ballot, I'm telling you this without fear of contradiction, if that was a secret ballot and you did not know how your members of the LA were voting, that bill would have passed. I want you to think about that for a minute. There's not very many people that are going to tell you the cold hard truth, but you need to hear what I'm telling you. Had that been a secret ballot, that vote would have passed, and it would not have passed by just one vote. I know for a fact that it would have passed by at least 3 or 4 votes. I'm telling you what I know. And so if you want people who are going to lie to you and tell you what you want to hear, you know, you're all upset with your Bible in hand about the LGBT community getting certain rights. I'm here to tell you the truth is secret voting would have turned out a very different result, which means that you need to be honest about your elected officials. And the fact that they will tell you anything you want them to hear. They're going to do, as somebody said, this flip-flopping to try to make it seem like, oh, we're behind the Christian community on this. So you give us your vote come May 2021. You need to vote for people who are going to be honest with you no matter what. That's what you need to consider. Because if they flip-flop on this issue and they lie to you about other things, what else are they lying to you about? What else are they flip-flopping about? I would rather have a man tell me in his heart of heart what he thinks and how he feels than for political gain to lie to my face, right? To support a cause which he truly does not believe in, but he doesn't have the balls to stand up and do the right thing and speak his mind. I've had conversations with some of these guys where they tell you that, you know, wow, like when Wayne Panton stood up years ago and said he's not going to oppose this. And he supported the LGBT community. Wayne, boy, you got some big balls. You know, I wish I could do it because I don't have nothing against these people. You know, yeah, you know, let them live, blah, 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 blah. Let them have equal rights by law because we know it coming anyway. That's what they say behind closed doors, folks. But unlike Wayne, they don't have the fucking balls to tell you. Excuse my language, but it pisses me off. And then you get fooled for it because they're saying what you want them to hear. What they want you to, they're saying what you want to hear them say. Okay? That's not the truth. Too many of us are comfortable with people lying to us. And because the lie is something we want to hear, we are okay with it. Well, folks, do what you got to do. Alva says it's news to him. Alva, they might soon be kicking you out of the opposition if you don't know what the hell is going on. We have some people private messaging us about some additional information. Oh, man. So listen, we will keep an eye on this situation. There's an accident that has just happened in the vicinity of Health City. That's a major accident. Alva, we'll keep an eye on that for you. Of course, like I said, at this point, we know that this is a rumor, but you know how politics is, folks. Even if Alva knew about it, it's going to be news to him. I mean, Alva, I'm not saying you're not an honest man, but I'm saying I know politics. Okay. So they will keep it close to the breast. Why all of a sudden has Mr. McKeever Bush returned? Only God knows. Nothing has changed in terms of his case. We know that he has a trial date that is now set for December that will be moving forward. So, folks, two more bits of breaking information here that I want you guys to be aware of. Apparently, there has been a child that has drowned. Again, this is not confirmed from police sources as yet, but we are pretty certain that this is the case, that there has been a drowning of a 4-year-old child at Lakeside, is what we're hearing. So this is horrible news this afternoon. We will wait for the official police confirmation on this. However, we will, somebody else just sent some information about the parole board. Okay. And there's also been a major accident apparently up in the vicinity of, we're told, Health City. So again, we'll keep our ears to the ground, folks. We wanted to have this discussion with you because at the end of the day, no, Remy, don't put me in the mix. We just need to be honest. We just need to really have some honest conversations in this country. And I'm of the opinion that any disruption in this government right now, we're in the middle of COVID, we're in the middle of our kids going back to school, we're in the middle of trying to figure out how we're going to move forward in terms of, this country coming out of this COVID situation as much as we can, trying to restart the economy. When are we going to open our borders? There's so many things that are on the table right now, despite how incompetent I may think some members of the government are. And I'm honest with you, you guys know who they are. You know who I think is very incompetent. At the end of the day, those people are still there as some sort of a dysfunctional team, but they are functioning. So to disrupt that and to pull that apart, right? And bring in new ministers who have to figure out what's going on in their ministry, trying to get to know their chief officers, trying to do the most, trying to do that. It's just the wrong time to do it. I do not believe in my heart of hearts that this will be anything at all that is going to be beneficial to the people of the Cayman Islands. And Troy says, as in Jesus' day, our churches too are filled with Pharisees and hypocrites. Christians need to push back on this foolishness and do the right thing. And I'm disappointed in the Christian community. I mean, I hear they're doing a protest again this weekend. They're telling people to wear a white shirt. I guess that's supposed to show how pure they are. Please, if you guys would stop molesting people's children, stop fornicating, stop having extramarital affairs and stealing from people and all the other stuff, for those of you who do that, who are part of these so-called churches, then you can talk about purity and you can talk about wearing white. But until then, your symbolism of wearing white to stand up to the LGBT community is absolutely hypocrisy at the highest, and it's disgusting. And if you are a Christian, you would have to know that this isn't Christ-like at all. How can you force people to believe what you believe? How can you force people, to not be treated equally? Even Jesus himself, when he walked this earth, he said people believe in him and they will not believe in him. He wasn't going to crucify you because you refuse to believe, but that's exactly what is happening right now. The UK is going to do what they got to do, folks. All of your petitioning and protesting in the world is not going to stop anything. And if you think that, oh, well, now we go independent and we can have our own say, that ain't going to work either. So wake up. The things that you all are doing is just not going to work. Mary says, I'm so sick and tired of the flip-flopping around. People that came Islands, are you not tired of this? Always for their own interests and gain and not for the people that came Islands. You better wake up. I know we'll be taking a chance on newly elected officials, but give others a chance. If you're not satisfied, then we know what to do next time. I agree. Most of these members of the LA need to get out. And I don't care because I'm friends with some of them and I like them maybe on a personal level, but when it comes to their politics and the running of this country, they need to get out. And I'm telling you straight up that anyone who is involved, if this coup is rumored to be correct, and anyone who's a part of that and who's involved in that at a time like this, when this country needs stability more than anything else, I will not support in the next election, and I will never support ever again. That's going to be my personal position. So go out there, politicians, and screw around with the people of this country because you're trying to placate a certain portion of the population. But you better be mindful of the rest of us who are watching your every move on this topic and who are going to be prepared to get you voted out if that's what it takes. The people in this country need to stand for something. And if the LGBT protest is the only thing you guys can stand for, you need to look in the mirror, take a hard, cold look in the mirror, and figure out what kind of person you really are. Because we've got some serious issues facing this country that most of us are not speaking up about and we're not protesting about, but this is going to be it. So Brent wants to know if there's a referendum today on this same issue, who would win and by what percentage? So a referendum on the coup issue, like changing the government, or the LBTQ, the domestic partnership issue. I'm not really sure. Because listen, there are a lot of people who do not vocalize their opinions on social media or anywhere else that I can tell you do not believe, and these are members of churches themselves. In some cases, these are ministers of religion, and they do not believe the position that the churches and some church members are taking is the right position to take in this. Some of them have spoken to me personally, and they're like, Sandy, I have a child who happens to be gay. You think I'm going to sit down and allow these people to hate on my child and to disenfranchise my child? That's why there's so many Caymanians who don't even live in Cayman, because they're just not up for the hate. They can't be bothered. We have qualified, bright Caymanians who will not remain in this country simply because they are who they are. And this community is hell bent on keeping them separate and unequal. Those days are gone. Long gone, folks. And I don't want to hear the foolishness about, oh, they're pushing an agenda of pedophilia. This, not. Listen, if you really cared so much about pedophilia, why aren't you protesting about that? Why aren't you addressing the known members of the LA that are pedophiles that we know about? We know who they are. Why are you not protesting them on that issue? So don't try to drag in all these sub issues into this conversation because you have an agenda that is obviously very clear. And it has nothing to do with protecting your children, because if that was the case, folks, you'd wake the hell up and you would start to really protect your children from the known predators in this community, some of them ministers of religion, some of them politicians, some of them big time community leaders across our 3 islands. And I don't see any of you protesting about that. There has not been a single protest in this country to protect your children against these predators. None of you are calling for a vote of no confidence against the same members of the LA who refuse to pass stringent regulations and laws and penalties against child rapists and men out there who are beating women and who are raping women. I don't see any protesting about those kind of issues. So don't drag that issue into this because it's not related, but you think, oh, well, if we tell people that the LGBT community are a bunch of child molesters, we'll have everybody's support. It's a lie. So, folks, Johan says it's politics. That's what I believe as well. If there's any merit of truth to this, like I said, we will know in short order. And I'm asking the people that came out to be incredibly sensible. You know, Isadora says, I have to agree with Sandy as a Christian myself. Until the church stands up for and defends abused children, even their elderly, also stop the adultery and fornication first, and then we can talk about saving others from their sins. Jesus loved everyone. So we'll see. JD says if Christians held a referendum and the right day to worship, Sunday would win and SDAs would riot. Well, I don't know if they would riot, but you know, I mean, it's just disgusting. What would Jesus do? Well, I tell you what he wouldn't do. He wouldn't be recommending a political coup at this particular time. Listen, the unity government was formed. Let them ride out. They've got 9 months left. Let them ride it out. Let them have a complete record to show that then come closer to the election, we can judge them against. You pull them out now, they're going to claim that they had all kind of fanciful plans to fix this situation, to fix the country. We need Jesus to fix the situation right now. He needs to take not just the wheel. Jesus needs to take the whole bus and drive it away and help us to figure out what it is that we're doing here. So I cannot support a coup. I cannot support, and like I said, this has nothing, trust me, to do with Alden McLaughlin. Because a little birdie told me the other day that Alden McLaughlin called the police commissioner to complain that I get on my platform and I say stuff about him. Oh, I might have to have her charged for saying things about me. Alden, get yourself together, my brother. Get it together. So this thing got nothing to do with Alden. I don't care. Doesn't matter. If I like him, if I don't like him, if he's having a good day, if I'm having a bad day, it doesn't matter. Doing the right thing allows you to put aside your differences. And I've got this annoying fly that just flew by me. I'm going to soon zap him with my zapper here. But it allows you to put aside your differences, and it allows you to put aside who you don't like from who you do like, and all these other things, to just do the right thing by the people of the Cayman Islands. People, the governor will think we're a bunch of buffoons, which he may already think so. But this is going to confirm in the heads of the UK that the people of the Cayman Islands are not ready. We're not mature enough politically. We're not ready to ever manage our own affairs. And whatever hopes we had of removing him from being able to do certain things, such as the passage of this bill, was thrown out the window. We threw out the baby with the entire bathwater when we refused to listen to directive from the court. The court said to fix it. And by fix it, they didn't mean voting on a domestic partnership bill and not putting it in place. That's not what fixing it means. They said this is a direct contravention of your Bill of Rights, of your own constitution, and you need to act expediently, expeditiously, whatever the term was that they used, to fix this and to give the members of the LGBT community the same rights as your married people in terms of insurance, wills and probate, pension, all of these things that are going to be impacted by them not having the rights currently. So your MLA members, please keep this in mind, who told you, and I had people swearing after the vote in LA, swearing me down, oh no, this isn't going to happen. The UK isn't going to do anything. You know why they were saying that? Because their elected officials told them that, and they believed them. So these are the same elected officials now who are perhaps preparing to undertake a coup. And what I'm saying to you is they misguided you in that sense. They lied to you. And if they believe it themselves, they're a bunch of fools. And those would be the same people who now you're going to rely on and say, yes, let's have a coup. Let's remove Alden because somehow that's going to change the UK's mind. It's not going to change the UK's mind except to reconfirm in their minds that we don't have a clue what we're doing. And we're not politically mature enough to run our own affairs. So our little parents, the UK government, the FCO, will be our overlords forever. Mr. Dean Miller says, I support equality. The DP bill is about upholding the law and promoting equality. Leanne, thank you so much. She talks about the hypocrisy here as they leave church. They're going straight to the bars. Leanne, not even that. They are in church, messaging each other, planning the fornication and the adultery after church. In church, oh, what numbers played? Some of them nasty effers are in church, looking at somebody's child, thinking what they'd like to do to them. Okay, so even in the church, the biggest devils are there roaming and preying on people and having the worst thoughts in their hearts and in their minds. But yet, when it comes to this topic, they want to jump up and have a viewpoint. You know what I'm saying? It's just like hypocrisy at the highest level, folks. Just stop it. So, Mary, thank you again for that comment. Mary says, what will be even more sad is that if they're denying it, then when it comes to fruition, then it's beyond dangerous. Now, bringing this to the forefront might just make them change their minds, especially if they're denying it. So, we'll see. I mean, here we bring you, listen, like we said, this is a political rumor, but it seems to have some very strong little legs. So we wanted to bring it to you, and you can take it or leave it, just like how we've received it. All I can say is thank you, Dean, for tuning in. Dean says he's got to get back to work. Jake says they show up to church on Sunday morning with rum on their breath from Saturday night. Anyway, folks, everybody's got to account for themselves. And I'm not really here to judge them, except they're trying to judge other people. So I'm trying to say, when you're judging other people, maybe you need to be like what Michael Jackson said. Take a good hard look at the man in the mirror. Judge yourself first. Judge your imperfections first. Clean up your life. Right? That's where I think we all need to be going with this conversations. And I agree with Lisa. A lot of people are picking and choosing. And like I said, by and large, the only topic that they want to be vocal about is this one. Nothing else seems to matter. So, folks, keep an eye out, keep an ear out. We'll hear more about this. If this political coup happens, like I said, I will not be supportive of this move at all. And this only reminds us of why we need to, we've just gotten some photos of the accidents. We're going to put those up here shortly. Lord have mercy. Look here now. Lord Jehovah, what the hell? How do we have so many islands, so many accidents for such a small little island? I mean, Cayman. Maybe the LA needs to be focused on teaching some of y'all how to drive instead of worrying about a coup. Because look at this. I'm going to put this up here on the website, but I just want to show you guys this. Check this out. Looks like they took down an entire light pole. So there are now people who are going to be without power yet again. Somebody did message that there was a power outage, and this is probably why. So you see, he's got to cut the power so somebody doesn't get electrocuted. Have a look at this. Unbelievable. Look, what on earth? Is that pole actually in the middle of the road? It kind of looks like it is. Anyway, folks, accident in East End. We'll put that story up. I will say to you to keep your ears to the ground in terms of this particular topic. It's a rainy day, folks. Slow down. I don't know where you're hurrying to go. End up in a pole, I guess. End up in a light pole. Lose your life and then have your poor loved ones mourning your loss. I mean, come on, get it together. Remy, my brother, says, I've always get asked, how come you're friends with Sandra? And I have one reply. She's the only one that speaks out on topics you all don't even want to look at. Thank you so much, Remy. I appreciate it. And I do consider Remy a friend. We go way back. And not only is he my favorite chef, but he is a friend. And, you know, I don't really care about politics up to a certain point. Like the politics of it is what I don't care about. I care about the lives that are being impacted in such a negative way because so many people are prepared to play politics. And that's why I'm not interested in politics. I'm not interested in running for political office because I'm not going to play your games. You know, a lot of you are like, oh, well, go run. And then when you call me, oh, Sandra, I need $100. Oh, she don't want to give me no money. Or she's telling me must get a job or must stop having my 11th children. So she insulted me and I don't know who Sandra Hill thinks she is. Oops. Back it up, people. I don't give a damn. I do not care. And if you had more people telling you the truth, we would all be living in a much better world. That is the truth. There are people who have to be hard with me, who need to say, Sandy, you need to do this. You need to shape up in this area. And I take heed. An honest person any day. Give me that over 1,000 dishonest politicians who are trying to get your vote. I don't want nobody selling me down the river, right? We need to make tough decisions every single day in this country. And we can only make tough decisions if we're willing to have tough conversations. And in those conversations, there has to be an element of truthfulness. Kristen says you can be hard and still have tact, though. Well, depends on how you look at it, Kristen. We try to have tact, and those are the days that people just are not listening to you. So, sometimes you got to just grab people and say, what the hell are you thinking? It is what it is. Tactfulness gets you far with some people, but there are other people when you're having a conversation with them, they don't understand tactfulness. Not at all. So, and it's not even about being hard because you can be soft and be honest if people are willing to listen. But that approach doesn't work with everyone. So, what can I tell you? Thank you, Kristen. We are Caymanians, and as Caymanians, sometimes I find that we are disappointing ourselves. I know Alden said during the LA, not during the LA, sorry, during COVID, that there were a few times that he was disappointed or ashamed of being a Caymanian, and he was making reference to Mario Rankin, which ironically, nothing is going to come of that. Nothing's going to happen to Mario. They've decided not to pursue that matter. And if that was making him ashamed, I would sure hope that this potential coup would be making him ashamed, because here we go again with our, what's the word I'm looking for? Clown style politics. We're all looking like a bunch of fools here, like a bunch of clowns. Anyway, folks, stay tuned. I'm going to come off because I've got a show at 7 o'clock. So if you have an opportunity, if we hear any updates between now and 7 o'clock, we know at 7, we'll be bringing it live to you. We'll give you all of the latest details of what's going on. So thank you guys for this kind of breaking session this afternoon. Again, this is a political rumor, but there's certain things that are happening behind the scenes that made me feel compelled to get on the show this evening and have a brief discussion on this. Whatever updates come our way, we will certainly update you on this. And thank you for tuning in. And I would be very, very disappointed if this is the case. And again, other breaking news, hearing of a drowning at Lakeside of a 4-year-old child, and also hearing of a rather serious accident in the district of East End. So, and I'm going to share something with you guys, quite ironically. Back in, and this was on my my Facebook, my personal page 5 years ago. So you know how Facebook always shows you these little reminders of stuff that you did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. I'm going to share this with you because a lot of people have asked the questions, or the question of when did I become such a staunch supporter of the LGBT community? And I say, when? I've always been a supporter of equality. And this isn't about the LGBT community. This is a matter in my mind of equality. So at the end of the day, if this was people trying to deny people of color their rights, I would be just as passionate. If this was us trying to deny white people rights, I would be just as passionate. If this was about us trying to deny blue-eyed, blonde people or whatever, it doesn't matter. If we were trying to deny rights to Jamaicans in this country, I'd say, hold on, this isn't right. If all of a sudden we wake up and we want to deny West Bears the right to do X, Y, Z, I couldn't stand for that. But look at the irony of this situation. 5 years ago, I don't know if you guys can see this all that well, so I'm going to read it out to you. This was my personal message on my Facebook wall 5 years ago. And I said at the time that sometimes I have to question what we have been taught because it simply doesn't make any sense. If God was so perfect in his creation of human beings then, why is it that hermaphrodites or hermaphroditus exists? How can you be born with both sex organs? So what are you meant to be? Why is it that some women are born with more testosterone naturally than most men? Why are animals born bisexual? and engage in same sex or in sex, quote unquote sex, with the same sex? How can you base your thoughts on such beliefs that have no factual or scientific basis? Yet we think we know what God wants and what he has dictated between a man and a woman, question mark. Come on, folks, let's ask the hard questions. So 5 years ago, we were having this same discussion. We must have been, because that is the only reason why I would have been posting this up as a thought on my personal page. And if we were having this discussion 5 years ago, and we are still having it today, and we have not moved even one step closer to resolving this issue of discrimination and equality against a particular community, why do you think we would be able to do it now? Those of you who are like, oh, we needed more time, right? You need more time for what? We've been discussing this for at least 5 years. So what is it you need more time for? Because more time is going to allow the hate that you have in your heart to be removed? I don't think so. More time is going to allow you to take your uneducated position and your misinformed position to somehow have an epiphany. More time is going to give you more intellectual capacity to understand the questions. You say that God speaks out about this, but how can that be when people are created with two sex organs? When women, naturally, some women have more testosterone than others. You can try to explain this all away, but if God created us in his own image, you explain this to me. You tell me how these things are even possible. Selective equality, Mario says, and that cannot be the basis on which we operate. So yes, I stood on this issue 5 years ago, and 5 years before that, and 5 years before that. I grew up, folks, in the same traditional Christian homes that you have. I did not have any lesbians trying to prey on me, so that's not what this is about. I don't have a homosexual bone in my body. I love men. This isn't what that's about. This is about equality and loving my brothers and sisters who just happen to be different than me. And to me, that difference is neither here nor there. I'm not sleeping in bed with anybody. It's not my business. And I don't care what they're doing in their personal lives as long as they're not hurting anyone. If it's consensual, and if it's not involving children, if it's not involving animals and the elderly who are all disenfranchised in this country, it's not my business. Okay? And that's where I stand this afternoon. And that's where I've stood 5 years ago. Thanks to Facebook for the reminder. I have known people who wanted to take their lives, folks, because they are gay. And you want me to believe that that's a choice? There have been people in our country who have hung themselves, who shot themselves, who committed suicide. And you actually expect me to believe that they're going to choose this lifestyle that is going to disenfranchise them? They're going to choose to be gay because that is such a popular and wonderful choice? Are you people crazy? There are people who are going to be disowned by their families, their parents, their siblings. They have no relationship with them. There are people who have to run from Cayman and make a life in a foreign country where they know no one, they have nothing, only because they can genuinely be who they are. And you think this is a choice, that this is some glamorous thing that people want to do. Seriously. From one Cayman into the next, I'm asking you all to please start to educate yourselves on this topic. Sit down and have a conversation with members of the LGBT community. Find out what their experiences have been, how they have been discriminated against. Find out the ignorance that they have to deal with on a daily basis. I mean, I don't know what else to say, right? The hate has got to stop. And it can stop with you. You can decide enough is enough. It's so simple on the one hand, but so complicated on the next hand. Don't allow these politicians to play games with this issue. These are people's lives. You understand what I'm saying? These are people's lives. They cannot live and be happy in this country because they're being denied equal rights. And that's just not right. I don't care who they are. It's just not right. First, we wanted to make it an expat conversation. Oh, it's the expats pushing the agenda. Then, when one of our own starts to speak out, then it's like, well, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with Chantal Day wanting to live her life unencumbered and for you people to just leave her alone? What's wrong with her wanting to be a wonderful mother, a wonderful life partner with someone? Or forget it. Even if it's not a life partner, how many of you can say that you've had a life partner? One life partner. That's not your business, right? It shouldn't matter. We need to get past this as a country. This issue, we have chosen to allow it to be the one issue that's going to tear this nation apart, that's going to cause another coup in this country. You know, political coup has ramifications that are far reaching and that will impact the lives of a lot of people. And the world is going to be watching. And the world, CNN, Fox News, all of them will be reporting on the ignorance of the Caymanian people. When by and large, I know in my heart of hearts this is not a majority. It's a vocal minority that continues to push their agenda. Folks, see you at 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will update you as and when we know more. Stay blessed as always.